Hello and welcome back to our channel, guys. In today's video, we're going to be putting the exhaust back onto the SL. Stay tuned. So a little bit of an update. The reason why the exhaust is off is because I wanted to educate my viewers to see how to install headers and a custom exhaust on an R230. This is only for educational purposes only. After the video ended, we completely dismantled that custom exhaust and put the stock exhaust back on. And because the old exhaust is on the car, that also means that the headers are also off of the car, meaning the whole entire stock system is on that car. So since these headers are off, we're gonna go ahead and rewrap the headers, but this time I'm gonna do it correctly. And in doing so, we ordered a new wrap. This time we're gonna do it in black. I didn't know you could get these in black when I ordered these, but we got it in black, and we're gonna be soaking them. So the reason why you soak your wrap is because these are made out of fiberglass, and they're literally like strands of hair. They will fray out like this, and they will scratch everything. By soaking them, not only do you make them less frayable, but it also makes them a little bit easier to work with from my understanding. You still need to wear gloves when they are completely soaked in water, but from what I did, my research, I did this wrong. Now we're gonna do it correctly. So I'm just gonna go ahead and unwrap this plastic and throw this in to there, and that's gonna soak up. I'm probably gonna add a little bit more water. So I just added a bit more water. It's interesting to see how much bubbles came out of that. I didn't expect the water to get contaminated like that. So water in. Now let's go ahead and take this wrap off of the headers. When you're working with exhaust wrap, it's always best to wear protection. Eye protection, gloves, mask, even long sleeves. This stuff's made out of fiberglass and it gets everywhere. It scratches any surface. So if you have a watch on and you're doing this, best to take the watch off because it will scratch the face of your watch. It's also best to work with the material when it is wet, unlike how I'm doing in this clip. Also, make sure to have good ventilation. Just finished taking off the wrap off of these headers. What's interesting is the fact that they kind of rusted out, and that's after like damn near 2 years of these being on there. I have no idea how these were able to rust out. I guess from cleaning up the engine bay. I would get water on the headers and that would cause some steam to come out, but I wouldn't expect it to rust that. But as far as the headers go, these are the VRP speed headers. They do last a really good amount of time. I mean, I haven't really beaten on the car all too much, and these welds are holding up really nicely. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working on the next one. Had to pause the time lapse really quick. Just wanted to inspect how I did this because this one was the one that came out best out of the two. This was the second one that I did. Obviously, it's way more nicely wrapped than the original one. I just wanted to get a nice little idea of how I did it. So each one of these, this one did get a little bit of a thingy over here, but now that we have removed all of the wrap from the headers, this was a little bit easier. Now that I know what I'm doing, I was able to get a nice little video of how I wrap these headers. These headers really came out nicely. It sucks that I had to take off the wrap, but you could see the oxidization, the rust that was forming on these. Really weird how that happens from fiberglass. I really don't understand the science of that. Yeah, so I looked into it, and it turns out that moisture is held within the wraps when you spray it with water. It's best to clean it with a plastic bag over it. Also, I had no idea what type of footage to use for this, so I'm using whatever pops up on CapCut. I do need to clean these headers up. You can see a little bit of them fiberglass wrap still stuck in these, so I'm going to clean these up a little bit. And then we're going to proceed on to taking off the exhaust. I want to be as time efficient as possible because I know this, if I don't get it done today, I'm not going to get it done until next month. And currently it is September and I don't want to wait until October to get it done. Yeah, that was September 2023. It's currently March 2025 when I'm editing this. So I got the exhaust manifold out. I also power washed the under tray that goes under the car. This was full of oil. There was a little bit of an oil leak due to a bad seal for the valve covers, the bad gasket for the valve covers. We had to replace that when we put the OEM exhaust back on, but now it's time to take off the OEM exhaust, and the game plan is to take off everything and basically get it to the point where it's just headers left, and then I'll have Dad take that off while I go ahead and wrap up the headers, the VRP speed headers with that fiberglass wrap. Kind of a strange angle, but we're gonna go ahead and start taking off the exhaust. The OEM exhaust on the R230 is quite heavy compared to anything that's aftermarket. Also, fun fact, the OEM R230 exhaust, there is no H-pipe that connects both sides of the exhaust together. That pipe that you see connecting between the two primary cads and the secondary cads, that's just to hold them in place. Aside from that, nothing connects the two sides together, which makes having a custom exhaust much more enticing, or modifying it by removing the secondary cads and or the resonators, because you can essentially have a more free-flowing exhaust, but that's neither here nor there if you live in the state of California. The OEM exhaust is the best exhaust if you live in the state of California. When I was installing the heat wrap on those headers after soaking them, it made it a whole lot easier for me to wrap them. Everything just connected a lot better, it stretched out smoother, it wasn't as messy as when I did it previously without soaking it. But also, if you get it finished in a coating that prevents heat from escaping, I think it's called Cerakote, that would be better. Then when you wrap the headers the way I'm doing it, you're basically taking away what's already a pretty tight space and making it even tighter. So if you can take the time to get it coated with that special sauce that prevents the heat from escaping, I would recommend that. But if you are able to tolerate a struggle, then this will do the job just fine. So I just completed wrapping up the passenger side headers. Took a lot longer than I anticipated it to, but they are completely covered, nicely done, nicely wrapped, and now I'm ready to do the other one. At the same time, Dad was able to take out the log headers that are on the car. Well, not anymore, but yep. Let's go take it to him. Now it is time for round 2. I am not excited at all to do this, given the fact that I was wrestling the first one, but I have to get it done regardless, so let's just jump into it. Just like everything in life, the second time you do it, it's a lot easier. This time when I heat wrapped the headers, it was a lot easier than the first time. I wasn't wrestling it as much. I think this is what I meant by it was a lot easier. Taking 30 minutes to do this was honestly like no time wasted at all. I think this one also came out the best, especially considering I think the driver's side has a lot less tolerance and space because you have the little steering wheel turner thing. I can't think of any of the names right now. This is a good thing. What I did here with the heat wrap, this is a good thing. And that is the last header all wrapped up. This one took me about 30 minutes to do. Not bad, and only used 2 zip ties. So let's go ahead and put it in. That's in. So we're using OEM gaskets, and Dad just sprayed on some glue. This is adhesive glue, but it works. I mean, the whole point is for those little gaskets not to fall off, and they are nicely on there. As far as the other header, putting this 2x4 worked really nicely. If you guys, when you do install your header, put a 2x4 right here, just undo the motor mounts, move the engine over a little bit, and that will allow you to put this on the passenger side a lot easier. Otherwise, it's really tight in there, and it's not going to be fun installing it. As you guys just saw, our installation process for the passenger side headers, we utilized headliner adhesive on the OEM gaskets, and I wanted to go over that a little bit. The reason why we're using OEM gaskets is because they're actually a lot more reliable than the gaskets that come with the headers. In addition to that, we also recommend using copper nuts when you are tightening those headers into there. After 1,000 or so miles, just go in there and double check the torque on those nuts, because after my first 1,000 miles, the nuts actually came undone, and I was basically driving around with open headers for a little bit until I was able to bring it in and we fixed everything up. This isn't our first rodeo installing these headers, and if you can utilize any of the information that I'm sharing, it'll make your whole entire installation process a lot easier, considering it's already pretty tight up there. 2x4s here, which means we are done with the passenger side headers. They are installed, tightened up, and now we're going to work on putting on the driver's side By loosening the motor mounts, you can easily lift up the engine, allowing for a little bit more clearance under there. It's a lot easier to install them this way, and I highly recommend that if you do tackle this at home, if you can use some sort of method to lift that motor up a little bit by loosening those motor mounts, that would be great because it does make a world of a difference. Putting them in was a little bit of a struggle. I will say the way Dad said we need to move the engine was great, because as soon as we started moving the engine around and using a pry bar, it just made the whole entire process a lot easier. We have them in aligned nicely. Now we're gonna put these nuts in. Okay, so we have the headers on fully, and we also were able to put on the exhaust. I'm gonna raise it up. Now that we have the old exhaust back on, we're gonna go ahead and finish tidying up the front of the car. We also put on the under trays on the car. So we're gonna go ahead, put all of these coil packs back on, and then start the car up. Dropping the car now. Gonna start working on putting on these coil packs onto the car. Shouldn't take that long. Should probably take like easy 10 minutes. Belt is now back onto the car. Headers are on. Car is basically ready to start. Just a quick disclaimer, I numbered my coil packs just so it's easier for me to know which one goes where. I recommend everyone that does this type of job also numbers theirs. Exhaust is out of the way. We're about to start up the car. Let's go ahead and bring her to life. Now that's what I call a start. So these headers are going to be steaming. That's just wax from what they said. Also the steam from the water. Completely normal when installing. Man, she sounds so good. Now, immediately after that previous clip had ended, we went ahead and put the car back in the shop, put it up on the lift, and put the OEM exhaust back on the car because that does pass California smog, which is the state that I live in. However, if I lived in Texas, a state where you can customize the exhaust of your car, I would do this. I would definitely keep the 3-inch piping and those long tubes. I'd keep the dual X pipe. I'd probably put a set of some sort of valve resonated mufflers or something like that where the resonators go on this car, and put the OEM muffler boxes back on where the Corsa Extreme mufflers sit, because it sounds a lot better. It sounds more muscly instead of a Mustang like my current car sounds, and it's a little bit quieter, so it's not really aggressively loud when you get on it. Not to mention, it's just, it breathes a lot better, and I feel like it also produces a little bit more power, especially when you consider restrictions and exhaust. I don't understand the science as much, but that being said, I hope you guys found the video useful. I know there was a lot of like, oh, this is what I did type of video instead of this is how to do it video. Regardless, I just hope that it helped you out if you are tackling these header install on this car. Now, if you are a fan of the R230, I do post a lot of content on this car. I have a lot more stuff coming, such as the tachometer you see over here, the instrument cluster, and the vents, and a couple more interior pieces I did modify on my car. I have those videos coming soon, so be sure to subscribe, like the video if you found this useful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.